Paris terror attacks. TomoNews Extended Report, Part 2.
How events unfolded during Paris's Night of Terror. Friday night's deadly terror attacks in Paris, in which around 130 people were killed, took place at 6 locations and were carried out by 3 teams of terrorists working in unison, according to French prosecutors. The first explosion took place at 9:20 p.m. outside Gate D of the Stade de France stadium during a France vs. Germany friendly football match. Reports said an attacker holding a ticket to the game was frisked as he tried to enter the stadium. His suicide vest was detonated as he backed away from security guards. 10 minutes later, a second suicide bomber detonated his explosive vest near Gate H of the stadium, while a third suicide bomber exploded his device near a McDonald's restaurant close to the stadium at around 9:53 p.m. The 3 suicide bombers and 1 passerby were killed in the attacks. Meanwhile, across town in Paris's 10th district, gunmen pulled up at the Le Carillon restaurant in a black car at approximately 9:25 p.m. and began shooting at customers. The attackers also targeted patrons at the Le Petit Cambodge restaurant across the street. The 2 attacks killed 15 people in total. 7 minutes later, 5 people were killed when gunmen arriving in a black car shot at customers outside the bar Le Bon Bière. Then at 9:36 p.m., gunmen again traveling in a black vehicle opened fire at customers eating outside La Belle Equipe restaurant, killing 19. Several minutes later at 9:40 p.m., a 4th suicide bomber detonated his vest at the Comptoir Voltaire restaurant, killing himself and seriously injuring 1 other person. At around the same time, 3 gunmen arrived at the Bataclan concert venue in a black VW Polo. After opening fire on concert-goers inside, witnesses said the men gathered hostages near the stage and made a brief address about Iraq and Syria. At 11:20 p.m., French special forces stormed the building, killing 1 of the 3 terrorists. The other 2 detonated suicide vests. 89 people died at the scene. An international manhunt is now underway for French citizen Salah Abdeslam, who is suspected of being involved in the attacks.
Mastermind behind Paris attacks is Belgian national who's been linked to other attacks. Abdelhamid Abaoud has been identified as the alleged mastermind behind the attacks in Paris. He's also known as Abu Omar Sosi and Abu Omar El Beljiki, meaning the Belgian. Video footage dating back to 2014 shows Abaoud driving a pickup truck that's dragging corpses across a field in Syria. Abdelhamid Abaoud is reportedly from Molenbeek, Brussels, and once claimed he had set up a safe house with 2 other jihadists in Belgium before fleeing Europe. He reportedly traveled to Syria to join the Islamic State in 2013 or 2014, and even recruited his brother to join him. His 13-year-old brother is believed to be the youngest known foreign jihadist. Abaoud has also been linked to a number of other terrorist plots, including an attack in August of this year on a train bound from Amsterdam to Paris. 4 people, including the assailant, were injured, but no fatalities were reported in that incident. According to NPR, Abaoud was ordered by Salim Ben Ghalim, a French national, to carry out last weekend's attacks in Paris. Both men are thought to be currently in Syria. French President François Hollande has declared the country at war with ISIS, and has proposed new laws and more spending on public safety to combat terrorism, but not at the expense of his country's freedom.
Identities of French terror suspects revealed. New details have emerged about the identities of the 7 attackers and 2 suspected associates who carried out the deadly attacks in Paris last Friday. Salah Abdeslam, the suspect who remains at large, is a French national living in Belgium, and is believed to be the logistics expert for the attacks. He entered Austria from Germany with 2 other men on September 9th, where he was reportedly stopped and questioned. He allegedly rented 2 hotel rooms in Alfretville, southeast of central Paris, and also rented a black Volkswagen Polo car used in the attacks. His brother, Brahim Abdeslam, also a French national living in Belgium, rented a house in Bobigny, a town in northeastern Paris, a few days before the attacks. Authorities believe the house was used by the attackers as a logistics base. The 2 brothers were part of the team that was responsible for attacking the cafes and restaurants in Paris. Bilal Hadfi, a French national living in Belgium, was one of the suicide bombers who attacked the Stade de France. He reportedly visited Syria early this year. Another attacker at the Stade de France was found with a Syrian passport with the name Ahmed al-Mohammed. His identity is yet to be verified. Records show al-Mohammed entered Europe via the Aegean island of Leros on October 3rd. Hadfi al-Mohammed and a third unidentified attacker made up the team assigned to attack the Stade de France. Ismail Omar Mustafa, a French national involved in the Bataclan concert hall attack, is believed to have traveled to Turkey in 2013 and then to Syria. Mustafa's accomplice in the Bataclan attack, Sami Amimour, is also a French national. He had planned to go to Yemen in 2012 and is believed to have visited Syria in 2013. The duo and a third unidentified attacker were responsible for killing 89 people at the Bataclan concert hall. Belgian national Abdelhamid Aboud, who is apparently in Syria, is suspected to be the mastermind behind the attacks. The search for the fugitive suspect Salah Abdeslam has expanded to Germany on Tuesday, where 5 people were arrested. Other arrests have been made in Belgium and France.
Morning para-terror raids see 2 suspected terrorists killed and at least 2 arrested. As the City of Light recovers from the devastation of Friday night's terror attacks, scores of police and military personnel are hitting back at suspected terrorists across France. Less than 2 kilometers from the Stade de France, French authorities descended on a Saint-Denis apartment where suspected terrorists were located Wednesday morning. Posts from social media show gunfire ringing out in the streets of the suburb. Several explosions were also heard in the early morning. It is believed that 5 armed terrorists linked to Friday's attacks were holed up in the residence that French police raided. The target of the operation was Belgian national and Islamic State militant Abdelhamid Aboud, who is believed to have organized Friday night's attacks. It is unknown if he was captured in the raid. During the raid, one of the suspected terrorists was reportedly shot dead by a French sniper, while a female suspect was killed when she detonated a suicide belt. Police arrested at least 2 suspected terrorists during the onslaught. The search for other suspected militants is ongoing. 3 French police officers and a passerby were also reportedly injured during the raid.
2 killed, 7 arrested during French anti-terror raid. 2 suspects are dead and 7 more were arrested in a raid early Wednesday morning targeting the suspected Belgian mastermind of Friday's Paris terror attacks. The raid started around 4:30 a.m. in the Paris suburb of Saint-Denis at an apartment on the Rue de Courbillon. Police first sent a dog to ascertain the level of threat inside. The dog was killed as it entered the apartment. A woman inside the building was the first to open fire and then blew herself up with an explosive-laden belt. According to BFM TV, 7 people, including 5 found in the apartment, were arrested. At least 5 police officers were injured during the operation. The whereabouts of Abdelhamid Aboud, the suspected Belgian ringleader of Friday's Paris terrorist attacks, and Salah Abdeslam, the suspected 8th attacker, both of whom were targeted in the raid, remain unknown. The police operation in Saint-Denis ended at 11:37 a.m. Paris attack mastermind confirmed killed in Wednesday's Saint-Denis raid. French officials have confirmed that Abdelhamid Aboud was killed when authorities raided his terror cell's hideout in the Paris suburb of Saint-Denis. The Paris prosecutor confirmed Thursday that Abdelhamid Aboud was killed by police bullets and a grenade blast on Wednesday. His cousin, Hasna Atbalachin, also killed herself with a suicide belt blast on the same floor. Due to the suicide blast and police grenades, the 3rd floor of the building completely collapsed during Wednesday's raid on the apartment in Saint-Denis. Identification of Aboud's body was made more difficult by its extremely mangled condition and the possibility of further collapse of the apartment building. After initial reports said Aboud was not among those arrested in the Saint-Denis raid, French authorities were able to identify his remains using skin samples on Thursday. Police arrested 8 people in Wednesday's raid and recovered multiple weapons, including Kalashnikov assault rifles and explosive belts.
New ISIS video announces terror threat on DC. Following the aftermath of the terrorist attacks in Paris, a new ISIS propaganda video has surfaced online, threatening future attacks on Washington, D.C. In response, U.S. authorities have been quick to bolster security in several places across the nation's capital. Counter-terrorism police reinforcements are now set up outside the French embassy in D.C. High-profile sites such as the Washington Monument and Capitol Hill are being monitored around the clock, and Secret Service security measures in and around the White House will be as tight as ever. Given the nature of the Paris attacks, soft target areas are of particular concern to D.C. police. Anyone riding public transit has been asked to remain aware of anything suspicious, and with so many museums and tourist sites in Washington, all areas drawing large crowds will now be under close surveillance. As of this report, the authenticity of the video has yet to be verified. But while the U.S. Department of Homeland Security claims it hasn't received any indication of an immediate attack, CIA Director John Brennan says he believes ISIS has more attack operations in the pipeline.
Glaring intelligence failures may have led to Paris terror attacks. With new information unearthed daily since the November 13th Paris terror attacks, questions are mounting about how French intelligence missed signs leading up to the attacks, especially as many of the suspects were known radicals. Sources say 10 days before the attack, an intelligence report indicating that 6 possible terrorists were in the country was never passed on to the DGSI, the French intelligence agency. Terrorists could have found it easy to travel across many European borders without alerting authorities under the Schengen Agreement, which allows passport-free travel. Turkey also reportedly warned France on 2 separate occasions that Omar Ismail Mustafa, one of the gunmen who blew himself up at the Bataclan, was in France, but received no reply from French authorities. French investigators say the terrorists might have communicated using encrypted means or via PlayStation 4 so that their messages could not be deciphered. According to the Israeli daily Haaretz, French intelligence had determined with near certainty that an attack by ISIS would come at the end of the month, during the UN Climate Change Conference. Several assailants were also stopped for questioning before and after the attacks, but were released by French police who failed to recognize them as suspects. Revelations about potential intelligence lapses come months after France adopted a new surveillance law that allows the state to eavesdrop on the public, a move the government says was needed to tackle unprecedented terror threats. France goes to war with ISIS, 17,000 soldiers to patrol France. On Monday, President François Hollande declared that France is at war, and in response to the terror attacks in Paris last Friday, has proposed extending the country's state of emergency for another 3 months. On November 15th, a dozen French aircraft carried out several airstrikes in Raqqa, Syria. Some 20 bombs were dropped during the raid, striking an Islamic State command center and a training camp. Over the weekend, authorities arrested 7 people in Belgium, 5 of whom have since been released. By Monday, French police had conducted 150 raids across the country, arresting 23 people and placing 104 on house arrest. 31 weapons, including a rocket launcher and bulletproof vest, were seized. At least 128 more raids were conducted overnight Tuesday. 10,000 soldiers will also join the 7,000 already deployed after the January Charlie Hebdo shootings, with 4,000 to 5,000 patrolling the capital. On Monday, Islamic State warned in a new video that countries that have taken part in airstrikes against Syria will suffer the same fate as France, and have threatened to attack Washington, D.C.
Paris terror attacks may have been planned with PlayStation 4. Is the gaming console PlayStation 4 a tool to help plan terrorist attacks? Well, it could be. According to Geek.com, the PS4 is in fact one of the safer options for under-the-radar terrorist communication. Its voice-over IP protocol is difficult to monitor compared to mobile phones and computer applications like Skype. PS4 users can send messages and use voice chat, but also privately communicate with each other through a specific game, without even speaking or typing a word. According to Forbes, a player could, for example, share an attack plan in Super Mario Maker's coins. In Call of Duty, he could use bullet holes to shoot out a temporary message on a wall to another player, the website reported. And the logic works not only for PlayStation, but also for other games and consoles using the same technology, such as the Xbox, which has been selling better than PS4 lately. Whether a PS4 console was used in connection with the Paris attacks has yet to be determined. But whether PS4 was used to plan the Paris murders or not, gaming systems remain a headache for counterterrorism authorities who would like to know what people are saying in private.
Video of father comforting son after Paris attacks goes viral.
Tu comprends ce qui s'est passé? Tu comprends pourquoi ces gens ils ont fait ça?
Oui, parce qu'ils sont très 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 méchants. Les méchants, c'est pas très gentil les méchants. Et il faut faire vraiment attention parce qu'il faut changer de maison.
Mais non, t'inquiète pas. On n'a pas besoin de changer de maison. C'est la France, notre maison.
Mais il y a des méchants, papa.
Oui, mais il y a des méchants partout. Il y a des méchants partout.
Ils ont les pistolets, ils peuvent nous tirer dessus parce qu'ils sont très très méchants, papa.
C'est pas grave, ils ont des pistolets, nous on a des fleurs.
Bah les fleurs, ça fait rien, c'est pour.
Si regarde, tu vois, tout le monde pose des fleurs.
Oui.
C'est pour combattre les pistolets.
C'est pour protéger.
Voilà.
Et les bougies aussi.
C'est pour ne pas oublier les gens qui sont partis. Hein.
C'est pour nous protéger les fleurs et les bougies.
Oui.
Ça va mieux du coup?
Oui, ça va mieux.
The world honors French police dog with hashtag JeSuisChien. Diesel, the canine unit that was killed by a female suicide bomber during a police raid on suspected terrorists in Paris this week. You may be gone, but you're not forgotten. The hashtag JeSuisChien is being carried as a torch through the Twitterverse. Tweets and retweets of images of the fallen dog and other pooches serve as a digital memorial to one of the French raid unit's finest. The Belgian Shepherd has even received tribute tweets from other species. Anonymous dogs have released a statement. Expect us. This tweet sums it up well. It's not only humans who suffer in our wars. But some use the hashtag to call attention to their own causes and criticize people for coming together over a dead dog instead of other humanitarian issues. A few people thought JeSuisChien wasn't a good enough hashtag. The dog has a name. Yes, she did. Rest in peace, Diesel. Anonymous takes down thousands of ISIS-affiliated Twitter accounts. Following the tragic Paris terrorist attacks for which the Islamic State has claimed responsibility, the hacktivist group Anonymous declared war on ISIS, also known as Daesh. The terrorist group responded via the Telegram messaging app, calling Anonymous idiots. Less than 24 hours after the insult, an Anonymous-affiliated Twitter account by the name of Op Paris announced that they had taken down more than 5,500 ISIS-affiliated Twitter accounts. Anonymous is also ramping up their recruitment efforts with guides on how to help, including how to hack. The hacktivists also released an action guide detailing their plans to hack ISIS-affiliated websites. The sites are not to be initially DDoS'd, Anonymous wrote. Hacking these sites shall gain us far more information regarding how their cells work and how we can best destroy them piece by piece. The action plan also mentioned members of the tech-savvy arm of Daesh, known as the Cyber Caliphate, should be doxxed with prejudice. A website for Op Paris provides info on different ways for people to join in the effort.